Welcome to Leadership Under Load. I'm Ric Marks. This is where we look at what actually sits underneath leadership when responsibility builds, pressure increases, and things start to feel heavier than they should. Because leadership doesn't break at the surface, it shifts underneath it. Leadership feels heavier than it should, not because you're doing it wrong, but because something underneath it is misaligned. In the last episode, I spoke about the moment leaders become the bottleneck without realizing it. And in this episode, I want to show you how that actually happens. Because it's not random, and it's not about personality. It is structural. Leadership load doesn't move all at once. It shifts. Quietly. Gradually. And most of the time it shifts in ways that feel completely reasonable. There are 3 places this tends to happen. Not as a model, but as a pattern. And once you see them, you'll start noticing them everywhere. The delayed decision. The first shift happens when a decision gets delayed. Not avoided, not refused, just delayed. You've seen it. You've probably done it. There's something needs to be addressed. A behaviour, a performance issue, a misalignment. And instead of dealing with it cleanly, you give it time. Let's see how that plays out. I'll come back to it. It's not the right moment. And in isolation, that makes sense. But what happens underneath it, that's what's critical. The load that should have been carried in the moment doesn't disappear. Instead it moves. And it shows up later as more tension, more complexity, more emotion attached to the issue. And now instead of a clean decision, you're managing a situation. That's just the first shift. From decision to accumulation. The softened standard. The second shift is more subtle. It happens when a standard gets softened. Not removed. Not ignored. Just adjusted. A behaviour that gets overlooked. A boundary that isn't reinforced. A conversation that gets diluted. Again, it makes sense in the moment. You want to maintain momentum. You don't want unnecessary friction. You're trying to be measured. But what the system reads is different. It reads, this is acceptable now. So the next time it happens, it comes back slightly stronger. And now, you're not just reinforcing a standard, you're trying to recover one. Which carries more load, more resistance, more effort. That's the second shift, from clarity to compensation. The taken ownership. The third shift is the one that locks it all in. It's when you take ownership for something that was never yours to carry. Not because you were told to, because you could. Something isn't moving. Someone is struggling. A decision isn't being made. So you step in. You solve it. You move it. You carry it. And again, nothing breaks. In fact, things improve, which just reinforces it. But what the system learns is this: if it matters, it ends up there. So next time it routes there faster. And now, you're not supporting the system, you're replacing the system. And that's the third shift, from support to substitution. Delayed decisions, soften standards, taken ownership. Eventually, and individually, they don't look like a problem. Together, they move load. Quietly, consistently, predictably. Until eventually everything concentrates in one place. You. And by the time it's visible, it looks like people issues, performance issues, and capability gaps. But those are outcomes. The shift happened earlier, in moments that felt reasonable. That's why most leaders don't see it, because nothing felt wrong at the time. If you can see parts of this in your world, don't try and fix everything at once. Just start noticing where decisions are being delayed, where standards are being softened, where you're carrying what shouldn't be yours, because that's where load is already moving. If leadership feels heavier than it should, there is usually a structural reason for that. Not your capability, but in how the load is sitting. If you want to see where that's happening for you, you can start here at ultimatemarks.com/start-here. That will walk you through exactly where load is concentrating and what to do about it.